Well, welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is singer-songwriter and drummer Clementine Moss. Welcome to the show, Clementine.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm sure you live an exciting life just being in the Bay Area and playing music, but before we get into all of that, give us a little bit of your backstory.
Okay. Yeah, my backstory is I am the drummer for the Led Zeppelin band Zapparella, which has been together for almost a couple decades now. And I travel all over the United States playing drums, but playing John Bonham's parts. And then in my downtime, I'm also a singer-songwriter. I have several albums out, and I'm also a writer. I have a book out about my music career. I'm also a spiritual counselor, non-denominational spiritual counselor, which is what my book is about. How my music career is kind of a metaphor for some of the contemplative practices that I do. So yeah, that I think that's as quick as I could say my life right now. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty awesome, incredible. What a joy to make a living playing some of the greatest songs ever written, and then getting to kind of tag along your own songs and career with that. I'm sure fans of the band are also fans of your career as well. So very cool.
Yeah, thanks.
What a challenge. We got to start off with, how challenging is it to play for a living, right? The some of the most iconic drum parts in rock and roll history. Do you feel the pressure on a nightly basis?
It definitely keeps you humble. Yeah, it definitely keeps you humble to play, the greatest, rock drum parts, some of the greatest rock drum parts. Um, but it also, you really have to give over to the fact that, I'm never going to be John Bonham, right? No matter how much I try, I will never accomplish what he accomplished on the drums. And that my job, though, is to do it justice as best that I can, to show up as best I can, to be able to convey the magic that I felt, from the time that I first heard those songs, and then convey that to people who love this music the way that I do, and recognizing that these are songs that accompany people through their lives. You'll hear them when we're teenagers, and then some people say, "Oh, that was my wedding song." That was my wedding song. That music was there at the birth of my children. That was like the happiest times, the saddest times. This music accompanies people. So I take it really seriously that I really do need to do my very best to bring across the music that people love that way. Yeah.
And I think it's even more important because, losing John, 30, 40 years ago now, right? 45,
Hmm.
1980, I believe 80, 81, right? And
80. Hmm.
right. So, people can't go out and, well, she's not as good as him, right? Like you are where the people are hearing these songs live. And especially because of the reputation of Zapparella that you've established, that you may be the only chance that some of these people have to hear these songs played live. Not a whole lot of, rock and roll cover bands have the ability even to cover Led Zeppelin songs, whether it's the vocal range or it's the musicality, all of it coming together is very difficult. So I kind of understand where you're coming from. It's a duty almost and an honor to do so, but yeah, it comes with a little bit of pressure, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is an honor, but it also, that's kind of, at one point we have to give over to the way that we wish things would be to the way things are, right? And that's a big lesson for me is to really just realize, okay, this is where I am and this is all I can do. And I'm giving this as a gift, in a way. And if people want to accept it, they can. If they don't like it and it doesn't speak to them, that's okay. But as long as I know that I'm in my own integrity doing the best I can, I feel okay with it showing up that way. Yeah.
Nice. You got any videos on YouTube of you doing Moby Dick?
Oh God, Moby Dick it really is so brutal because here's this piece of music that somebody wrote for 20, 30 minutes, and I have to get up there and do my little 5 minute deal. And when I was approaching Moby Dick, I was thinking, a drum solo to me is the most personal thing a drummer can do. And so I couldn't get my head around copying his drum solo. Like all the other songs, I really try to copy what he's playing so that, it really fits in well with what people expect. But for the drum solo, it had to be my own, It's like I play Moby Dick at the beginning and the end of it, and then I have to go into my own drum solo, and that's where I see all of my limitations, all of the ways that I wish that I was a better drummer, all of the ways that I've been working on things that I can never actually make happen. And so Moby Dick, it's like I could never watch a video of myself doing it, even though it probably would improve it for myself. I can't bear it. I like to just kind of give myself over to what happens in the moment, and try to play as freely as possible. And I feel like it never is what I want it to be. So yes, there are videos out there of me doing it that I have never seen.
Well, and I think that really speaks to the artist that John was, but also the freedom that it gave. And inside of that band, which is such a, I mean, underrated. Everybody talks about Page and Plant, obviously, but John Paul Jones is one of the greatest musicians, maybe,
Oh
that
man.
ever lived, right? And
Agreed,
I
agreed.
don't know that that band is ever what it is without him, but it spoke to the creative freedom that the band kind of let each other have. That, obviously the 30-minute drum solo that's on the song remains the same. That they didn't play it that way live. And you're talking about a band that necessarily didn't make a living. They weren't the Grateful Dead, right? They weren't on the road for 40 years. I mean, the members of the Dead are still on the road, playing
Yeah.
close in the Bay Area, I know, for a big 60th anniversary here soon. But that there was that freedom. It was always going to be a journey, and each show would have been its own journey. And I feel like
Right.
that you kind of adopt that spiritual nature of it, right? That, yeah, here's kind of the bookends of it, but in between there, Clementine has a story to tell. And you're given that freedom in Zapparella to do that too. That's just incredible. Where you're not always going to get that in a cover kind of, and especially a tribute band like you guys are. I don't know if you would call yourself that, but
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that's why we've been able to do it for so long is because, we want people to be able to sing the riffs, to sing the song, to get, have all of the words, have all of the pieces in place that you want to hear. But then for a live show, there are places in the song, say in Whole Lot of Love or even Immigrant Song, there are these places that we get to stretch out as a band, and we're not, there are bands that will copy the live versions of Zeppelin, okay, this is the concert from this year, um, but we've never done that. We've listened to the live stuff and then, we allude to things that they did live, but then we really make it our own. And I think that's why I've been able to do the same music for so long, is because it does keep changing and morphing, and we become a tighter and tighter and tighter band within the structure of this other band. So it's kind of like I feel like we're a band within a band. Like I understand my who I am as a drummer like more within this structure of somebody else's parts. So it's a really interesting, an interesting thing, and I think that's why this music has carried me along for so long because it keeps being interesting. Yeah.
yeah, just touching on so many things. I mean, I've been playing a lot of the same cover songs for, 25 years of my career.
Uh-huh.
And I don't, there's some that, have gone in the set list and out, but there's so many that still mean just as much to me now as the first time I heard them before I ever learned them on a guitar,
Right.
or maybe some that mean even more to me now because of the life that I've lived with them, and obviously with 20 years of playing these songs all over the world, right? That now they're bringing up your own memories, not just those old
That's
tunes,
right.
but newer ones too. How cool! Just love it.
Yeah, and isn't it a trip too? And so this phenomenon, which is that you learn a song at the beginning, and maybe it's a song where you're making a little bit of adjustments for like, oh, that player played it like this, but that's not really comfortable for me, or I can't quite accomplish that, so I'm going to play it like this. And then over time, over the years, you get better as a drummer, or you start hearing it differently, and then you reapproach a song that you learned 10 years ago, and suddenly it's like the song feels brand new, and it's like now it's like the song that has all this energy in the set because you're reapproaching it to a way that is even deeper than the original way that you learned it. It's like that's kind of what happens to us, is especially because sometimes we kick songs out of the set because we only have a 2 hour set, and it's like Zeppelin songs are 15 minutes long, right? So, every now and then we do a big change up of bringing other songs in or putting them out. And then if we bring back another song, it's like I have to completely relearn it because now my ability is different than it was when I originally learned it. And same with the women and the other women who are playing the song. So we go through this big kind of adjustment. We just did that with "We're Gonna Groove," the song "We're Gonna Groove," where it was like, oh, okay, this now I can play it like this, which is the way that it was is more true to how he played it than at the beginning when I was playing it. So yeah, it just keeps us on our toes, definitely.
God, I love talking about this band. So when I was a kid, grew up around the Chicago area before we moved to South Dakota, and there was a station there, 100.3, and they would get the let out every night at
Hmm.
9. So about bedtime, that's kind of what not the snooze, but the sleep would go off to. I'd get 20 minutes of Led Zeppelin every single
Awesome,
night as a, 7, 8, 9 year old. And these
awesome.
songs are just ingrained, and I've obviously been such a huge fan, but probably know a little bit more of the discography. I don't know just the hits, right? I've listened to a lot
Yeah,
of these albums and going deeper. And then there's, still songs that I'm like, wow, how,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I know.
And that's a reason why a lot of them don't make it into my set list. I'm more of a bar room kind of strummer. And so,
Hmm.
songs like Hey, Hey, What Could I Do? Or, just songs that are easy to strum to and play and sing because I'm also the singer, which put a lot of Led Zeppelin songs just out of the vocal range completely.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, how exciting to just spend a career, playing this music and reintroducing yourself to it over time. And just sounds like it's been such a blessing for you. How has that part of your career now informed your original music? Is there a crossover in the style? Is there, similarities between what you do for a living with Zapparella as compared to, what you kind of do for yourself with your music?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I don't the kind of music that really inspires me to write, ultimately I'm a songwriter, a lyricist, a songwriter, right? And that's kind of I first started with lyrics because I always saw myself as a writer before I even played music. And so the music that I a lot of the music that I really love is very lyrically driven. And so and I don't see, I mean, I love the lyrics of Led Zeppelin, but I don't see that as lyrically driven music, right? Like it's rock and roll, right? It's the whole band, the whole piece. And I think as an original musician, when I'm writing, it first comes from the drums, right? I start with drum beats and then I hear vocal melodies and lyrics within the drums, right? And then kind of work with other people to kind of get the music written. And and so when it comes down to it, none of the music that I play is sounds like Led Zeppelin. It really is. I think it's quite different than that genre. I mean, it's still in the rock singer songwriting genre, but it's not like um, that I'm really drawn to writing. A lot of that is because Led Zeppelin was a band. I think it's the input of four people, and I'm a soloist, right?
And
So
I think there's something to writing from behind the drums. I mean, one of the greatest lyricists of rock and roll music, I would say that nobody knows was writing the lyrics is Neil Peart.
Neil Peart, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
right. That's right.
it makes for a much different writing process. It's completely removed, kind of, not necessarily from melody, but I imagine that you're going to hear syncopations, almost before you're hearing melodies. You're hearing kind of how things should go in a cadence almost more than the melodies are, which can it's just coming from a totally different place. I'm a guitar player and a lyricist as well, songwriter, but most of my songs kind of are always written around the melodies
Yeah.
of the guitar lines and the lick that I'm hearing in my head and not from another place. I did play drums for a few years back in middle school and high school. I loved the concert band, but marching band was my favorite. So I loved playing drum
Oh,
cadences
that's
on the
great.
snare drum.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing about, the way that we write and kind of where we come from in our songwriting process. So, yeah, I think that rhythm is important to me even in writing prose, even when I'm writing anything. I think that my writing always has rhythm is important. It's I want to hear how it sounds when it's read out loud, that it flows and it works well. So I think that has a lot to do with the songwriting that I do. I guess if I were to think about one thing that Zeppelin really taught me is that as far as song structure goes, um, it's okay for it to be unusual. I mean, when you take a song like Kashmir, it's like, okay, those things, it's like everything happens in like, it's seven. It's not like, okay, two measures of four. It's like, okay, this chorus, it goes for seven. It's like they really love seven. They love that, the number where you just don't expect that that's okay, this one's going to be 14. I count to 14 and then we go, or like in the levee, yeah, I'm playing, at 18 I go, right? And so it's okay for things to take a little longer or to be a little wacky, and I think that's the best lesson you can learn from, when you really parse a Led Zeppelin song. It's like, yeah, things are not normal, a lot of the times, and that's what kind of makes them great. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Clementine, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. Give you an opportunity here to plug anything you want, your originals, the band, all of it. Give us the links and tell people where to find you.
Thank you so much. I honestly, if you just go to clemthegreat.com, everything is there. It links to Zapparella and our upcoming shows. We just played in South Dakota, actually, so unfortunately, I can't plug that song, but that date. But we're always playing around the country, so there's that. My book is there, my music is there, my writing, everything is there. So yeah,
Well, I'm
Clem the
very
Great.
sorry I missed you on this trip, but I will make sure to catch you the next time you're coming back through our beautiful state. Clementine, Clem the Great, thank you so much for for joining us today, and thanks for being part of the scene.
Thank you so much, Bubba. Thanks for having me.